It is a brave man who live streams on a worldwide public holiday. Here we are again. English Addict is back with you once more on this special festive day. I hope you are feeling good today because we are back live, very, very live, in fact, coming to you from the birthplace of the English language, which just happens to be, I think you know where it is by now, I'm sure you do. It is England. It is really. Oh, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that. That was a nice surprise. I don't know how it did that. Let's try this, shall we? That was a surprise. Oh, here we are. We are definitely on this time. Everything is working all right. Hi, everybody. This is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you feeling happy? Today is, of course, a festive day. If you are celebrating, if you've already been to celebrate somewhere with today's festive events, can I say Happy Easter to you? I hope you are having a good Easter Sunday. Many people, of course, at this time of year are celebrating over a long period of time. So Easter is not just about Sunday, it is also about the whole festive period. With many religious festivals, you often find that they go on for many, many days. So not just one festival, but many, many festivals. And Easter is a very good example of that. Here we are again. My name is Duncan. I talk about English. You might say that I am an English addict. And I have a feeling you might be one of those as well. I hope you are feeling good today. First of all, I want to say we have officially started summer. Even though it doesn't feel like summer, it's still springtime. Technically, it is still spring, but the clocks have gone forward 1 hour. So you spring forward and you fall back at the start of autumn. So now we have gone forward by 1 hour. So for some of you, it might seem as if I am on at a different time. I can assure you that I am not on at a different time. I am on when I should be, which is 2 p.m. UK time. But it is now British summertime, or as a lot of people call it, BST. It sounds like a Korean pop group, doesn't it really? But it isn't. It's British summertime, which has now started, although it doesn't feel like it. It is technically still spring. And if we look in the garden, I will show you quickly in the garden, we still have cold weather, but you can also see on the trees there is lots of blossom, and that is right outside my studio window at the moment. There is lots of lovely blossom coming out on one of the trees. So it does feel as if spring is now definitely on the way. I'm feeling rather happy about that, to be honest. It is English Addict. It's Easter, everyone. Have you had a good Easter so far for those who are celebrating at the moment? I have an Easter egg. Mr. Steve, he bought me an Easter egg. Would you like to see it very quickly? So there it is. We will be looking at this a little bit more later on when Mr. Steve arrives. I suppose I should give you the 20-minute warning because Mr. Steve will be with us soon. So I will now put it on the screen. Steve will be with us. He is at the moment preparing himself for today's live chat. We are talking about a lot of things today on English Addict. We have some conversation, some topics. We will be talking about Easter, of course, because it is Easter Sunday, and we have some other subjects as well to talk about. Humour. We are talking about laughter. What makes you laugh? What sort of comedy? What sort of humour do you like? Some people have a very good sense of humour. Other people don't have a good sense of humour. We will be looking at that a little bit later on. Also, coming up today, words and phrases connected to eggs. You might be surprised to find out how many words and phrases are connected to eggs in the English language. So we will be looking at that as well later on with Mr. Steve. He will be with us in a few moments and he'll be in his comfy studio. I suppose also I should mention we have hot cross buns today. Hot cross buns, hot cross buns. I love to eat hot cross buns. Have you had any hot cross buns today? I wonder if you have. So there you can see we have 2 hot cross buns. We did eat 2 of them yesterday, but now we have 2 left and we will be eating these later on. Actually, these are rather unusual hot cross buns because these are actually blueberry hot cross buns. So they contain blueberries. Very unusual, as you can see from the side there. It says 4 blueberry hot cross buns, and that is what we will be eating later on after today's live stream has finished. Hello also to the live chat. Hello live chat. It would not be English Addict without you joining in. I wonder who was first. Well, there is a surprise. Vitas, congratulations once again. Well done, Vitas. You are first. Again, you have the fastest finger in the world, I think so. Beatrice, hello Beatrice, thank you for your greetings. Also we have Francesca, or Francesca, should I say. And also we have Mr. Juan Ali. Hello Mr. Juan Ali, or is it Marwan Ali? I don't know. So, hello to you. I will call you Ali. Is that okay? I hope so. Welcome back, Mr. Duncan. It is nice to attend your live class. Thank you very much. Also, he is here today. It would not be the live chat without Luis Mendez. Is here today. Hello, Luis. Nice to see you back as well on the live stream. Happy Easter to those who are celebrating. We also have Jimmy. Hello, Jimmy. It is nice to see you here as well. Thank you very much for saying hello, sending your greetings from Hong Kong. Oh, today also is the final day of March. April arrives tomorrow. We have a very long holiday this weekend, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday and also tomorrow is a public holiday. So we have a very long weekend at the moment. And Steve has taken the whole week off as well. So not only is Steve off for 4 days, he's also off next week as well, which I'm rather excited about. Even though the weather forecast is not very good, we have rain every day next week. So Steve was complaining yesterday. He was saying that maybe he chose a bad week to take off from work. But it's all right. Don't worry. It's fine. Don't worry too much. We also have Gianni. Hello, Gianni. It's nice to see you here as well. Hi. It's nice to see you back. Watching once more. Inaki is here as well. Mesut or Mesut Puzli. I hope I pronounced your name right. Can I call you Mesut? I think that will be much easier. Apparently it says I am a violinist. A violinist. Can I say I admire that skill very much? I am always slightly jealous of anyone who can play a musical instrument, a violin or maybe piano. I think of all the instruments that you can play, I always admire people who can play the piano and also the violin. I think they might be two of the hardest instruments to actually play. SOS Mundial says, happy British summertime. I have to be honest with you, I am really happy that summer is on the way. Even though we haven't had a very bad winter, it hasn't been cold, and we haven't had really any snow, but it has been very, very wet. We have had so much rain. In a moment I will show you what the rain has done in certain parts of the area in which I live. Hello also to who else is here today? Irene is here. Hello, Irene. Christina says, I have terrible toothache and I can't follow the lesson. Happy Easter to all of you. So I have a feeling maybe Christina, you won't be having any chocolate eggs today. Perhaps, maybe. I had toothache a few days ago, and if you were watching last week, I had backache. And I still have it. It isn't as bad as it was last Sunday. But Mr. Steve, being the lovely person he is, he bought something that I can put on my back to keep it cool. So it's only arrived about an hour ago. So I'm looking forward to trying that later on. He is so thoughtful. He is. He's really, really thoughtful. He bought me this lovely Easter egg. Isn't that nice? It's quite large as well. It's a big one. We did promise each other that we weren't going to buy a lot of chocolate, even though we have, because we can't resist. I am weak, I suppose, and maybe Mr. Steve has a weakness for chocolate as well. So I think that is the reason why. Hello also Patrick. Hello Patrick. A big bonjour to you. I hope you are having a good Easter Sunday as well. A lot of people are joining in today on the live chat, which is always good. Now I was worried that maybe not many people would come on today because maybe you are busy with your Easter celebrations. So it is nice to see you here. I always appreciate it. April is coming. Tomorrow is April the 1st. April Fool's Day tomorrow. So lots of people normally on the first day of April, they like to play tricks on each other, jokes on each other on the first day of April. Also next month, during April, there will be the launch of my new YouTube channel. Can you believe it? There will be a new YouTube channel featuring lessons made by myself, new lessons, and I've been very busy over the past couple of weeks filming them, even though I haven't been feeling very well with my poor painful back. But I carried on. I didn't stop. I didn't give up. I persevered. To persevere is to continue, to carry, even though everything is bad. Maybe you are suffering pain, but you still carry on. So even if you are struggling, even if that thing is very hard to do, you fight through the pain. You fight through the difficulty. You persevere. And that is what I have been doing as well. It is never too late, Mr. Duncan, to learn how to play a musical instrument. I'm not sure. I don't think I have the patience to do it. Maybe that's the reason why I've never done it. I don't think I have the patience to sit for many, many hours and learn how to play a musical instrument. So perhaps that is the reason why. Persevere. Yes, if you persevere, it means you push ahead. You continue. Even though things are difficult, even though there are problems, you still push ahead. You continue. You persevere. Also, a lot of people have been asking, Mr. Duncan, where can I get one of those T-shirts that you wear? Where can I get one of these? Where can I buy one of these T-shirts? Well, guess what? Next month, you will have a chance to get one of these T-shirts and also other merchandise that I have decided to put on my YouTube channel. So if you would like one of these, you will have the chance to do so in maybe a week from now. So everything that I'm going to put on my YouTube channel will appear next week. And you will be able to have one of these lovely collectible English Addict T-shirts. Mr. Steve will be here soon. As I mentioned a few moments ago, it is Easter, and I hope you have a good one wherever you are in the world. Happy Easter to all those who are celebrating Easter today. And of course, I know that not everyone celebrates Easter. I am aware of it. There are people who don't celebrate at all. Maybe they have their own celebrations for their own religion, perhaps. Many holidays. Well, I would say that all holidays are based on some sort of religious festival, because that's why we have the word holiday. Holiday basically is holy day. So most holidays are connected to some sort of religious belief and festival. Hello, Squish Marshmallow. I love your name, by the way. It's one of my favourite foods also, marshmallows. I love them very much. Hello to Squish Marshmallows, who says hello. Hello. It's very nice to see you here. Thank you for joining me. Tell us something about Easter. Why is it celebrated? We will be talking about that in a few moments from now. When Steve joins us, I suppose I should mention again, we have Mr. Steve joining us in a few moments to talk about lots of things. We will also mention why people celebrate Easter and why do we have the Easter egg? Why? What does it symbolise? Quite often with many religious festivals, you will sometimes find there is some sort of symbol, maybe a thing that you look at in nature, like the moon, for example. So we often think of certain religions as being very well, they use symbolism in very careful ways or specific ways. And of course, we have Easter as well. But why do we have the Easter egg? All of that coming up in a few moments from now. So that is something we will be talking about today. Very nice to see so many people. Saturino is here. I always feel very lucky. And the reason why I feel lucky is because I have a lot of people who join my live streams every week. Twice a week, my live streams are with you. I am subbed. Please give a shout out to Squishy Marshmallows. I seem to be saying that quite a lot today. I don't know why. But hello to you anyway. Musut says we are fasting at the moment. I would imagine that has something to do with Ramadan. Am I correct? I think it must have something to do with that. In a few moments, Mr. Steve will be here, but I thought it would be interesting just to quickly show you something that I filmed yesterday. Mr. Steve and myself, we went out for a lovely walk, and I couldn't resist doing a little bit of filming around the area in which we were walking, which is just up the road, right here in Much Wenlock. And then after this, Mr. Steve will be here, right here, live in the studio. Don't go away. It is English Addict on a Sunday. It is Easter Sunday. A lot of people say, Mr. Duncan, we love it when you show the cows. So I hope you enjoyed that. English Addict is here right now. And yes, we are live from England. English Addict is here, and he is here right now. You know who's coming up. Everyone gets excited when this guy is around. Yes, it is on Easter Sunday, a super duper egg extravaganza with Mr. Steve.
Hello, Mr. Duncan. Hello, wonderful, beautiful viewers from across the globe and the universe. Here we are again on a Sunday. I've come in from the garden. I'm hot. I'm ready to go, Mr. Duncan. And we all know it's Easter. Lots of people saying Happy Easter, so thanks for that. Shout out to some new people I haven't seen before. A squish marshmallow.
Good.
Which sounds very edible, and Mesut Puslu. I'm not very good at pronouncing names.
You're doing such a good job there.
I'm doing such a good name. I've just come on, you see,
yes.
Wishing people happy Easter, and there's all sorts of celebrations going on all around the world, different religious festivals and celebrations at the moment. So it's all sort of coming together, isn't it,
and
Mr. Duncan?
Today is Easter Sunday, but of course, as I mentioned earlier when I started today's live stream, I mentioned that many religious festivals go on for quite a long time. Easter is a very good example of that because it does go on for quite a long time. First of all, we have Lent, which goes on, and then we have the lead up to Easter, and then just after Easter there are more festivals as well. So it is an interesting type of, I suppose, festival is a great way of describing it. But Easter has always fascinated me from way back when I was at school. Now, when I was at primary school, some people might call it secondary school. This is very confusing, I know, but I was at primary school, and that's what we called it. And we had a headmaster called Mr. Caldwell. He's no longer around, I know that for a fact, so he can't sue me. But he used to always, during the morning assembly, all of the kids in the school would gather in the big hall, and he would quite often stand on the stage in the hall, and he would give us stories, tell us stories, religious stories, talk about various religious stories, all of them relating to Christianity, of course. And I think he was very much into it. He was very much into religion. So he would stand there and talk to us and tell us these stories. And of course, during Easter, he would talk about that. And I always found that quite fascinating, how a lot of the festival revolves around Easter. So there is more. I always think there is more going on at Easter than at Christmas. Have you noticed that, Steve?
There is, particularly this year. Yeah, there is at Easter because then, you've got Lent, haven't you? 40 days of that leading up to it. Then you've got Holy Week. This is in the Christian calendar, of course. And at the moment, it's coinciding with Ramadan. And Easter's also associated with the Jewish celebration of Passover as well, which quite often coincides. It's not this year. It's a bit later on, I think, this year. But they're all, interrelated, aren't they, at this time of the year? So a lot of celebrations going on at the moment.
And I suppose I should mention quickly,
religious-wise.
Mr. Steve bought me the most gorgeous Easter egg. And this is something that a lot of people will exchange or just buy for themselves. An Easter egg is an egg, but no ordinary egg, because it is made of chocolate. So can I say, Mr. Steve, because you are so kind and generous, as a kind and generous person you are. Thank you very much for this. Even though we did try to promise ourselves that we weren't going to eat much chocolate, but it would appear that we failed. And this is amazing. I can't wait to try this later on. But at Easter, a lot of people have Easter eggs, and I've always been fascinated by why we have Easter. And a lot of people seem to suggest, or certainly listening to what people have been talking about over the past couple of days, it has a very deep religious meaning, doesn't it, Steve?
Yes, it does. I was looking it up today because I'd forgotten what the symbolism of the egg was. I think they used to tell you at school, didn't they, Mr. Duncan? It symbolised the. What did you say it symbolised?
Now, I thought this is what I remember from school. So maybe my headmaster was wrong, but he always said that the rock that covered the tomb in which Jesus was laid after being crucified, the rock was symbolised by the egg. But you said that you'd seen it somewhere that it's not that.
Yeah, it symbolises the empty tomb.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we necessarily. These are the stories that we were told. When we were growing up. We're not promoting religion. We're just talking about.
Well, we're talking about it because it's Easter.
We're just talking about it because it's Easter. So don't get that wrong. We're not trying to promote. Christianity at this point. We're just talking about
I'm an atheist,
the stories.
Steve. I'm an atheist, so
I know. Well, just in case people don't realise.
Well, I'm saying it now. I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in any religions, and so if we talk about religion, it's just part of all of the
history,
subjects.
the stories. Yeah. So apparently, the other interpretation of the egg is to symbolise the empty tomb. Because Jesus was crucified, wasn't he? Went put into the tomb, and then some ladies went in a few days later, 3 days later, and it was empty. That's the resurrection. So that's supposedly what it's symbolising. Of course, it wasn't chocolate eggs originally.
No, it has.
I think it was like hen's eggs, and they used to paint them red to symbolise the blood and that type of thing. But yeah, and somebody else asked earlier. I think it was Jimmy from Hong Kong. About the rabbit, the symbolism of the Easter rabbit, Easter bunny.
Yes.
And if I've got this right, I think it's a sort of a German folklore element that was added in to Easter, because some branches of Christianity don't celebrate Easter, Mr. Duncan. They think it's wrong to celebrate it. They don't like the fact that it was. It's celebrated. I think Jehovah's Witnesses are one group that don't celebrate Easter, and the sort of more puritanical branches don't celebrate it Easter because they think it's a bit. I don't know what the word is, but they don't like it.
Sacrilegious?
Almost, yes, because it wasn't original. It was sort of. They see it as having come from. Sort of paganism in a way.
Yes. Well, it's interesting. Well, Christmas is a bit like that when you think about it, Steve. Christmas has somewhat changed over the years. It has become more of a tradition that has lots of other traditions connected to it. So I always find that quite interesting. I suppose it's a bit like the fact that Jewish people don't celebrate Christmas.
No, that's right.
So yes, it's very interesting. There are many branches of belief and faith and systems. So yes, I do find it fascinating, even though I don't follow any particular religion, to be honest.
Well, I think the rabbit is. Steve, read somewhere that comes from sort of German or Germanic folklore.
Is it fertility?
I think it's to do with. I can't remember. I think that the rabbit gives eggs and things and presents to the children. I think it might be linked in with the sort of the other bit where you sort of hunt for Easter eggs, don't you?
So the Easter bunny.
Yes, I think it's more connected with children and giving gifts to children, from what I remember.
Yes.
So somebody can look that up, the Easter
Yes.
rabbit, Easter bunny.
Yes,
Or
I think
the
some of it
Easter.
is connected to fertility because, of course, it's springtime. So Easter quite often falls at spring, doesn't it? During springtime, and we all get very excited at this time of year because, of course, summer is now on the way because we are now in British summertime, and the clocks did go forward last night by 1 hour. And that's why I feel a little bit tired today, because I did lose 1 hour last night because we had to put the clocks forward by 1 hour.
Can I just say, Pedro, hello Pedro, has asked, how do we have this fantastic skin? Well, it's consuming large amounts of chocolate.
Yes.
No, I'm not joking. Well, one, the lights help. We have got quite, well, I wouldn't say harsh lights, but they're quite bright, so they tend to smooth out the wrinkles. But staying out of the sun,
Yes.
if you stay out of the sun, you are guaranteed to have good skin.
Yes.
I wouldn't say I've stayed out of the sun all my life, but I'm not a sunbather, so
No.
that put a hat on.
Anyway,
hat.
I think it's safe to say that over the years, I think we have taken good care of our skin. So I even though I used to spend a lot of time in the sun, and I do have some sun damage on my arms, which I'm rather ashamed of, but I think our faces are quite good because we've always protected them to a certain degree. And I think that's the reason why, even though we are, both of us, we're not young anymore. I might be. You know what my aim is, Mr. Steve, here on YouTube? I want to be eventually the oldest English teacher on YouTube, because that's the way of doing it, you see. If you want to get lots of attention, just be the oldest person doing something.
Ah, right.
So if I stay on here for another 20 years, I think I'm guaranteed to be the oldest YouTube English teacher in the world. So I'm hoping for that. At the moment, I'm neither one thing or another, because there are lots of people around my age doing this.
Could you claim to be the one that's been teaching it the longest on YouTube?
Yes, I can. I'm the first English teacher on YouTube.
Well, maybe you should put that on your new channel, Mr. Duncan, which you've spoken about. Maybe that would give you some credibility, some kudos.
Yes. It's very hard these days, Steve.
But yeah, Pedro, the people to ask, because obviously you're seeing us through this slightly sort of not blurred, but slightly sort of flattering light.
Yes.
Maybe people that saw us actually for real, in the flesh, maybe they could comment. As like Francesca, Christina, Beatrice, Lewis, Patrick, if he's on.
So a lot of people did meet us last year for real. So what about you? If you met us last year in real life, do we look as good in real life as we do here on the camera?
Pedro wants to know. But yes, wear a hat.
I think the biggest shock for everyone last year was how tall I am. I think everyone was just so they couldn't believe how tall I am, and I am very tall. I do stand out quite a lot in the crowd because I'm very, very tall. So that's the one thing a lot of people said, Mr. Duncan, you are so tall.
That is correct, particularly when you put your big walking boots on, which add about 2 inches to your height. So, yeah, sun cream. Yeah, well, Pedro's putting sun cream on, so that's obviously a good idea. But I don't like sun cream. It just annoys me. It all gets sticky. So I wear a big wide-brimmed hat. You've often seen me on the live streams with a big and sunglasses to protect around the delicate skin around your eyes.
Yeah, that's why you have those panda eyes.
Yes, we won't go into that. But yeah, that's it. Stay out of the sun. It's difficult, though, in mind you, I don't know how much sun you have compared to us in Brazil. I would imagine you have
What?
more sun. I don't know.
I think there might be a lot of sun in Brazil, Steve.
Certainly closer to the equator, I think, so it'll be
Yes.
hotter.
Yes.
But yeah, wide-brimmed hat.
I think
My
South-
mother always wore
I think
a
South
hat.
America is a hot and sunny place, definitely. I think so. But you don't have to go crazy. You can just wear a hat, and maybe sometimes if you are going to spend a lot of time in the sun, you can put something on your skin. But thank you anyway. Thank you very much for the compliment.
Smoking and drinking, of course, is very bad for your skin, particularly smoking. Not that I'm saying you are smoking and drinking, Pedro,
Beat-
but
Steve, Beatrice has said, Mr. Duncan, I can say that you are very, very tall.
and also Beatrice says that we look better
Oh,
in real life.
Oh.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to be flattered
Thank you.
on Easter Sunday. How tall are we, says Pedro? Well, I don't know it in centimetres,
no.
but feet and inches. So I'm 5'9.5".
I'm 183.5 centimetres.
Are you 6 foot or 5'11"?
Me?
I think you're 5'11".
I'm just
aren't you?
over 6 foot.
Oh, right, just over 6 foot. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's mostly in his legs.
it is true.
So
I have-
I would say, round it up, I would say I was 5'10", but I'm probably not quite 5'10".
No.
Mind you, having said that, you shrink a centimetre every 10 years
Oh, okay.
past the age of 30. So I'm probably not as tall as I was when I was 18.
So by the time you're 70, I can probably carry you around in my pocket because you'll be so...
Well, you will have shrunk as well.
But not much, you see, because I'm already taller than you. So I'll still be much larger than you. It's a bit like when you wash some clothes at a hot temperature and you bring them out and they're all too small. It's a bit
Yeah.
like that, really.
Yes, I read that the other day. You lose a centimetre in height every 10 years. I think it's once you pass the age of 40 or 50 or something like that, you start to shrink, which, So if you're already tall, see, my mother used to complain about that she was shrinking as she got older, which I think was probably true.
It was. Your mum did shrink. So when I first met your mum, way back, she was much taller. And then as she got older, she did slowly shrink, a bit like the Queen of England. And you definitely noticed that over time as she got older. She did definitely shrink and got much smaller. But I think also it's posture as well, isn't it? As you get older, I think your body tends to go down like that.
You must stay upright. Yoga's good for posture. I'm going to take up yoga. I've done a little bit, but I've never done it seriously. I'm going to take up yoga to maintain my posture. Ballet dancers, you see, always retain their posture as they get older. You've got to hold yourself, get out of bad habits.
Yeah. Talking of which,
sort of slump. Oh, that's bad for your neck, that is. Oh, I
Steve,
need to crick my neck there, Mr. Duncan.
the other thing I wanted to mention very quickly, of course, last week I had a bad back. I've still got a bad back, but we got some advice yesterday from the lovely pharmacist here in Much Wenlock. He gave us so much wonderful information.
He did.
And Steve has bought something for me that I can put on my back, and it will keep my back cool for a short period of time, and it will ease all of the pain. So it would appear that I have strained my back, and that's what the problem is. So I am still in pain, but it's not as bad as it was last Sunday when I really did feel unwell. But thank you very much. Steve, he's always so kind to me. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Why do I deserve so much kindness?
Well, I wouldn't say it was kindness. It's really, if you're not in pain, then I'm not in pain.
Oh, I see.
No, I'm not. I'm only joking.
So
How tall are you, Pedro? Is that your height there, 178 centimetres? Or is that you, Mr. Duncan? How tall were you?
no, I'm 183.5.
Ah, so Pedro's 178, unless that was my height converted.
No,
So how tall are you, Pedro?
Pedro says I'm 178. I am.
You're 178.
Yeah, that's what. No, Pedro says on the live chat. He literally writes,
I'm one. Oh, right. Yes, I'm 178. So what am I in centimetres? What is... what is... Maybe somebody can do the conversion. So I am 5 foot... Say 5'10".
Steve, this is incredibly boring.
Well, we're just interested to see,
Well, you're 5'9.5". Let's just say that, shall we?
I was when I was 20.
Yes. You haven't grown much, trust me. Today, by the way, Steve, besides Easter and also besides chocolate eggs, which we will be eating later on.
Anyone from Belgium watching?
We are also talking about, stay on subject, Steve, we are talking about words and phrases connected to eggs used in the English language. And also, do people still have a sense of humour? Now, have you noticed over recent times, Steve, more and more people have become offended by everything? So whatever people say, comedians, even people like me, unknown people like me, might say something that could upset someone or offend someone. So we have to be very careful, don't we, sometimes, what we actually say here on the live stream, just in case we upset someone. But I think over time, people have started to lose their sense of humour. It would appear that people don't enjoy laughing at things as much as they used to. Maybe things that might be sensitive, or maybe something that a lot of people might get upset by. Now, you and I always feel lucky knowing you, Steve. You might not believe it, but I do. And one of the reasons is because you have a good sense of humour as well. We do laugh quite often at the same things, don't we?
We do.
Yes. And I think that's one of the reasons why we get along so well, because we do find very similar things funny. Also, I think it's fair to say that we have a rather, how can I put this? Sometimes I think our sense of humour is a little bit dark as well. I think we have a slightly dark sense of humour, you and I.
Well, I think we're influenced a lot by certain television comedy programmes that we've liked over the years. And I think that has influenced Seinfeld, particularly American comedy, which is very sarcastic comedy. They're always being very nasty to each other, aren't they?
But I think that's borrowed from British humour. So I think British humour,
yes.
British humour is sarcastic, and I think American humour has sort of copied that in a way. So I still say this: English people do sarcasm so well, especially in humour. But when we talk about dark humour, we're actually talking about jokes about things that might be insensitive to some people. So I think you and I do, don't we? We do have a sense of humour that might be a little dark in places. We like TV shows like Family Guy is another one. Yes. So the humour in that sometimes is very maybe offensive, or maybe it pushes the boundaries of what is acceptable. But I sort of find that quite nice, quite fun. It is a way of expressing yourself. And I think that's one of the things we have in the West, or certainly in countries where there is a lot of freedom. I think humour is a very important part of that way of keeping in touch with what it is to be human as well, looking at each other and not being afraid to laugh at each other, but also at ourselves as well. So I think it's actually a very healthy thing to have humour.
I think you've got to be able to laugh at yourself, and these days people get offended, I think, too easily, and in fact they've just introduced a new law in Scotland.
That's coming out tomorrow.
That's coming in tomorrow, a new hate speech law. I don't know all the details about it, But basically what it's going to mean is that you won't be able to say anything that offends somebody, because that person will now be able to report you as for hate speech. And they think that what it's going to mean is that a lot of people are going who will take advantage of this and report people who they think have offended them in some way.
So what this is aimed at, I think it's aimed at people who are maybe writing plays, things for the theatre, but also I think that the group that will be affected by this particular law in Scotland are, of course, comedians.
Ooh.
People who tell jokes for a living. So you might find sometimes those particular jokes might be offensive to some people, and then they can report that one comedian to the police. So there is a chance, after this new law is introduced in Scotland from tomorrow, people will be arrested just for making a joke.
If it offends somebody or a group of people, because the sort of zeitgeist now is that whether something is true or not is irrelevant. It's whether you feel what you feel.
Yes.
So if you feel as though you've been offended, even if it turns out later in a court that you weren't, even if you feel you are, then the law has to act on that. I mean, they really think that a lot of people are going to be deliberately getting vengeance on other people and getting them arrested and saying that they've been subjected to hate speech.
Yes, or just offended. So how do you prove? How do you prove that you've been offended by something?
Well, of course, it'll have to go to court, and the whole point of it is that it might turn out that you were innocent, but you'll have to go through the whole grueling process of being arrested, going to court, and all that. So it'll be that alone will probably put a lot of, because they can arrest you without any evidence whatsoever. This is I think the frightening aspect of this law is that it'll only take somebody to say that you have made some hate speech,
yes,
or offended
or
someone,
just offended them,
and they will have to arrest you.
But it doesn't even have to be hateful,
even without any evidence.
It can be just anything. It can be anything that could come out of your mouth as a sentence could be offensive to another person, and then they could report you to the police for offending them, and you could then be arrested. So this is not happening in England, by the way. This is happening in Scotland from tomorrow, and it is a form of law that will protect the rights of everyone, but also it might take away the rights of everyone to have free speech. So it is I think it's a very strange law to bring in, because how do you define offence? How do you define being offended? Because I might be offended by something my neighbour says, and they might not even mean it to be offensive.
Well, that's it. If you're a vindictive person, you'll be able to get somebody arrested just because you might just make a complaint about them. So is there have we got anybody watching in Scotland at the moment? I mean, obviously we're talking about it from our perspective, what we've read in the news, what we've heard. But if we have anybody watching who lives in Scotland, and what is your perspective on this?
Yes.
What do you think is going to happen? Or do you agree with the law, or don't you? We'd like to hear your views, because obviously we're not in Scotland, so we're only reacting to what we've heard and what we've read.
I think the reason why a lot of people in England are worried about it is because laws that are passed in the United Kingdom quite often will go to other parts of the UK. So even if this is just happening in Scotland, it might eventually affect other parts of the UK, including England. So it is an interesting thing. And of course, you might go to Scotland on holiday, Steve, and walk around and make a comment and say, oh, why is that man wearing a skirt? Why are all the men wearing skirts? They look very funny. They have very hairy legs. And maybe a Scotsman wearing his kilt might be offended, and I could be arrested for that because I've offended that man. I've offended him.
Yeah.
He's very sensitive about walking around in his Scottish skirt and his hairy legs. So he might be offended by that. So I could be arrested without even realising. I just go to Scotland to visit as a tourist, and I could end up being in prison for saying something. It is a very interesting thing. So we are talking about that in a few minutes from now. So we'll have a quick break. I want to drink some water to soothe my sore throat because I've been talking for 1 hour already. And we have Flags of the World coming up.
Oh, Pedro.
Flags
of the World, don't go away.
And for those people who are fans of flags, well, guess what? You are in the right place right now. Did you enjoy that, Steve? The fluttering flags of the world.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We know a lot of people like watching Flags of the World, although we did have a poll, if you remember, a number of years ago, and it didn't come out too favourably. But never mind. We needed a break, so that's the important thing.
You know what, Steve? You can't please everyone.
Exactly.
Once you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one. That is what I always say anyway. Talking of pleasing people, we are talking about humour, having a sense of humour. It would appear these days that more and more people find it very hard to laugh at things. Maybe we are afraid to make jokes about certain subjects. I suppose one that, in fact, I can think of two straight away. Race jokes about a person's race, where they come from, the country they come from, and I suppose the other one is religion as well. So in British humour, there have over times in the past been many programmes that have made fun of religion. I can always think of one, Father Ted.
Yes.
It was a very popular show, and that was a comedy about some priests, some Catholic priests living on a small island. And it was often very critical of the Catholic religion. And the humour came from that sort of, I don't know, I suppose it was exploring sometimes the hypocrisy of that particular religion. So we have done it here in the UK. We have in British humour, we often go towards things that might be seen as sensitive. And we have done that in the past. Another programme that I still can't believe, Steve, was made was a programme called Allo Allo. Now, I still to this day can't believe we made that TV show. And that was a comedy about the Nazis when they occupied France. A comedy. It was funny. Now, you wouldn't think by saying that it would be successful, but it did. It ran for many, many years. I think it ran for about 8 years, a comedy show. And I'm sure some people out there have seen it. And it is all about the French resistance during the Nazi occupation. But it doesn't seem like a thing that you would make a comedy show out of, does it?
No, but we've had a lot of comedy shows, series in the UK based around the Second World War in particular. A lot of comedy shows. It Ain't Half Hot Mum, Dad's Army, as you say, the one you just mentioned as well.
But that particular one is even more sensitive because it involves a group who really we don't often think of humour. And the only other person I can remember doing anything like that was Mel Brooks, of course, with The Producers. If you've ever seen The Producers, the plot basically is a couple of writers want to put on a show, but they want it to be a failure so they can claim the insurance money. So they decide to write the most offensive musical that they can think of. And so they use the Second World War, or should I say the Nazi occupation, as the backdrop for their musical, because they think everyone will just be offended by it. And it turns out that everyone loves it, and it becomes a huge success. The Producers by Mel Brooks. Brilliant movie, by the way. Very, very good.
But a lot of the British comedies that are centred around the war, like Dad's Army, Hello, Hello, It Ain't Half Hot Mum. I mean, the basic premise is to take the mickey out of other people in other countries. So the French, the German, Italians. That's what a lot of British humour is often about, and I'm sure other countries do it. I'm sure in France, in Italy, in Germany, you have comedy shows where you're taking the mickey out of British people, because all races, all countries have their own sort of stereotypes,
yes,
their own sort of characteristics which lend themselves to humour. If you're not in that country.
Can I just go back there, because you've used some phrases there. If you take the mickey, to take the mickey means to make fun of someone. So you are making fun of them. For example, you might think of a stereotype of the French. So maybe you think of a man wearing a beret with onions around his neck.
That's how we see French people
riding a bicycle.
Yes,
and going ha 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 ha. You see, so is that offensive? Well, maybe to some people it will be, but to others they might go, yes. Sometimes French people do ride bicycles with onions around their neck.
Well, I'm sure they don't now, but
no, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not saying whether it happens now or not, but
Yes.
that would be the stereotype that comes into someone's head. The British, now, we are often portrayed as ugly with bad teeth.
Yes, particularly in American comedy.
Yes. So British people are often very posh or very common, and quite often they are ugly with big rotten teeth.
And they're always speaking either, as you say, in a very posh accent or usually in a Cockney London accent. And but you see, when we see that, if we see, you can when there's American comedy and there's British people in it, that's how they're still always portrayed.
Yes.
Bad teeth with a Cockney accent, but we laugh at it.
Yes.
Because we recognise that is a characteristic of us, because a lot of British people do have bad teeth, or at least they used to. Probably not so much now. And so there are, you've got to be able to laugh at yourself. We don't find that offensive. And maybe if a French person was to watch Allo Allo, maybe they wouldn't find that offensive either. It's like when we see jokes.
This is what I was going to lead on to, Steve. That particular programme called Allo Allo was popular in France now and Germany. So that programme has been sold all around the world.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't imagine that would be the case. You would think that everyone would be offended, but they're not. So in the past, now this show that we just mentioned, of course, was made way back in the 1980s when attitudes were somewhat different. And this is something that is also worth mentioning, that over time the attitudes of people have changed. Now, I'm not saying that hasn't happened, because it definitely has, but I think these days we've gone too far, where we've become too sensitive about things. Maybe we just become offended by everything we see and hear.
Well, with humour, as long as it's not being deliberately offensive, then there's no reason to be offended. We often see programmes like Family Guy, where they're taking the mickey, or as Christina has used synonyms for this. Taking the PISS is another way of doing it. Where there are jokes about gay people.
Yeah, jokes about...
We laugh. We don't find it offensive because we know they're not doing it to try and offend us.
Yes.
As long as the humour isn't trying to deliberately offend, then it is simply just taking the characteristics of a person or a particular people in a particular country, gay people, and there is always some truth in that joke.
Yes.
And if you've got to be able to see that funny side of it and laugh at it. So as long as it's not being deliberately trying to offend, then it's just a joke, and you can laugh at it.
That's it.
I mean,
there are situations where we've watched something, and you would imagine that we would be offended, but we've actually laughed at it because it is funny. Family Guy is a very good example of that, because they make fun of everyone. And I think that's the other thing to remember. So that's the reason why programs like South Park and Family Guy have been so successful, because they don't pick on one group.
Yes.
They pick on everyone. So there isn't every single group, person, nationality or race, they all get mentioned at some point. So you know that they are not singling any particular group. So that's the reason why those programs have always been quite successful, because you know they are not picking on one group. They just make fun of everything.
Yes, Saturino says in Italy we take the mickey out of the Brits, because these are characteristics that people see. Precision and timeless. I'm not sure what you mean by timeless. Do you mean we're always late, or do you mean we're always on time? See, that's something we would joke about with German people, that they are always very precisely on time. That I've seen jokes done about that, and I'm sure that if you were a German person, you would see the humour in that. Just as we see the humour when we see British people represented with horrible rotten teeth and talking in a Cockney accent and eating roast beef.
Having said that,
we find it funny.
Steve,
Well, we do.
Steve, having said that, a lot of British people do have bad teeth.
Yes,
that is true.
It is a definite truth that there is some truth in that humour. There is always some truth. You know, like French people wearing berets. Well, probably a lot of French people. I don't know whether they do now, but they probably did in the past.
Yes, and
certainly the beret is a French.
I don't want to pick on the French, Steve.
No, I'm not. But I'm just thinking.
No, I'm not saying you are, Steve. I'm just about to move to something else. So Italians. Let's pick on Italians, shall we, for a while? So what about Italians? Italians would eat pizza all the time and spaghetti all the time. So that's what I would think, because that would be the stereotype. So every nationality has some sort of identity that comes with it. Australians. What's the first thing you think about when you think of Australians? You think of Crocodile Dundee. You think of that guy in the outback with his boomerang, catching a kangaroo.
Yes, and the hat with corks on it.
Yeah, the hat with the little corks.
That's and very, very rough, sort of abrasive character.
Yes.
And of course, the other big source of humour when it comes to having people from other nationalities is the way that they would speak English. We're talking about English. Well, when a French person speaks English, there is a certain inflection of the voice, or a German person, or any Italian. And so that, again, is a source of humour, because certain words get pronounced incorrectly because of biases in your own language. Yes. Spanish, the way Spanish people speak English, lends itself to humour.
I just want to slow down a bit there. Oh, it's okay, Steve. I do like it when you become passionate, but we have to sort of contain ourselves to a degree. I know it's very easy to become excited, but it is. I think the British often get picked on more than any other nationality. Now, I'm sure someone's going to disagree, but I think we do. We are picked on for being posh and maybe having bad teeth, and also the terrible food. British food is often seen as terrible.
That's
as
right.
Awful food. So the British are often used in comedy or something that is representing the British people. And to be honest, it doesn't bother me. I'm not offended by it. I think it's funny, because it is funny, because sometimes comedy or humour comes from a certain truth.
That's it, certain truth.
Something you recognise in people. And that is why it is funny. Humour is all about recognising those little things.
Traits.
We all have.
We've all got traits.
Yes.
Can I say hello to Real Heist? I am new here. I have been watching your videos for the last week. This is my first time in the live stream.
Hello, Real Heist.
Welcome. We love to see new people on the live chat, and we always like to recognise that. So hope you're enjoying Mr. Duncan's videos, because it's Mr. Duncan's channel. I just help out here. And I hope you're enjoying it today, and thank you for taking part in the live chat.
So when we talk about humour, Steve, we can look at humour in many ways. We can look at it as good humour or good taste and bad taste. So we can have good taste and bad taste. So certain types of joke might be very offensive. Maybe there is rude language, or maybe there is something that is being said that is hateful and cruel, like you just said, Steve. So that's a very good point to make. And also good taste. So maybe the good taste is just something that other people agree with. So a group of people will find a particular thing funny. So to them, to that group, they think it is good taste. But again, it is subjective. So I think humour quite often is subjective. One person's hilarity, one person's Ricky Gervais is another person's completely unfunny thing. So humour is not universal. It can change from one group to another. But I think there are many things that we all find funny. And sometimes I think it is healthy as well to be willing to just look at yourself and make fun of yourself.
Yeah, and the one thing that makes people laugh more than anything, I think, probably in all languages, is when a foreign person is trying to speak your language and gets the pronunciations wrong. That's always a huge source of humour. And of course, in Hello, Hello, that was really played on and taken to the extreme.
Yes. Another comedy show that was on a long time ago was Mind Your Language, which is very popular with people learning English, as strange as it sounds. And in that show, there are many different nationalities, many different people from all around the world learning English in class, in one classroom. And they all had their own individual characters. So that might be seen as being offensive. But in fact, a lot of people around the world also see the humour. They are not offended by it. And that I always find quite strange. Also one of my favourite TV shows as well, Mind Your Language. Very funny if you haven't seen it before.
Yes, and what is offensive in some countries is not offensive in others. And Christina Silver points out that humour is probably more of a, well, certainly is a Western thing. In certain countries, you are not free to use your humour because of persecution. That's right. In certain countries, if you make jokes about religion, then you may well find yourself, in prison or arrested or something. Yeah. Well, or if you make humour about who is in power, you might find yourself in very hot water and being arrested. We don't need to name the countries where that can happen. But yeah, you've got to be very careful if you come from certain countries. Whereas certain religions, the Catholic religion, certainly in the UK, has the humour taken out of it all the time, and yet, Catholic. I don't know. Maybe some Catholic priests are offended by it, but maybe they find it funny as well. I think there are a lot,
Steve. I think there are a lot of people who are offended by that, and if you remember many years ago, because we grew up in the 70s, didn't we? And there was a big movie called The Life of Brian, which is all about the early life of Jesus. And it's a comedy.
That's right.
And at the time, I remember that caused a very big controversy. People were outside the cinemas where it was being shown, and they were protesting, trying to get the movie taken off, to have it banned or censored. But they didn't, of course. It went ahead and it was shown. And to this day, it is still shown in many places, including on television. And that would be something that you would think would be banned, but it isn't.
And when was that, Mr. Duncan? When was that shown?
That would have been the early 1970s. I want to say 74, maybe a little bit later, in fact. And there was a very famous debate between some of the makers or the writers of The Life of Brian and a couple of religious leaders as well, and they were debating this on TV. It's a very famous debate. And I think that's another good example, how you can take something and frame it in a comedic way, in a funny way. And for some people it will be funny, they can see the humour, whilst other people will not. They will be offended by it. So again, I think humour is subjective. We also have dark humour. Now I think, again, this is something the British do very well, Steve. Dark humour. Jokes about sensitive subjects. I suppose one would be death.
Yes.
We're very good at making fun of death, funerals. We watched a program last night, an old situation comedy from the early 1970s, and they were at a funeral, and there was lots of humour in that particular episode, and it was all about the death of a relative and everyone wanting to get the money or the possessions of the dead person, and that was where the humour came from. So it's interesting, isn't it? So even something as serious as that.
Yes, dark humour. The situation is maybe quite grave. It could be about death. It could be about any subject where, well, death is the main one. Violence, things like that. But somehow humour is found in that. Now, the thing about dark humour is it does help people. Humour in dark humour can help you cope with very difficult situations.
Yes.
When things are upsetting, like a funeral, then sometimes some humour, which you would describe as dark humour, as long as it's not offensive, can go a long way to relieving the tension and the upset in that situation.
Yes.
And that's what dark humour is about. It is about looking at a subject which is very serious and trying to find some way of coping with it by injecting some humour into it. So it can, as long as it's not offensive.
Yeah, that's it.
So
you're using it as
useful.
an almost like a release.
Yes, like a release almost, yes, to help people cope with what could be a very troubling or traumatic experience.
Yes.
Is to find some humour in it somewhere.
Another subject would be divorce. There have been many comedy shows, many comedy programs, funny situations where maybe a couple have been in a relationship that is not good, and the humour comes from the fact they hate each other, but they're married and they really hate each other so much. So maybe a marriage that is coming to an end can have a certain type of humour. So the humour comes from the fact that those two people, the people in the relationship, just hate each other, and they keep, maybe they insult each other or they say things to each other that are not nice.
Dark humour is a difficult area because it's very easy to offend people.
Yes.
With dark humour. But done in the right way, it can make a very difficult subject or a troubling subject, it could lighten it and make it easier to cope with the thoughts around that particular area, like death, for example.
Yes, I think that's actually very good.
It's a difficult subject for a lot of people to cope with, but if you can find some humour in it, then it can relieve that tension or that stress in that particular situation.
Valentin, that is a very good joke. That is a very classic joke. I want to die peacefully in my sleep like my granddad, not screaming in the car like his passengers. See, that is very funny.
Yes.
That is a funny joke.
You would say that was... Would you say that was dark humour?
That is dark humour.
That's dark humour, yes.
So the joke there is the fact that the granddad didn't die in his sleep peacefully. He died because he fell asleep whilst driving the car.
Yes.
And the other people obviously in the car also died.
But so it's dark humour, but it's... some people might find that offensive. We don't, but it's just a joke.
Yeah.
But you might not want to tell that joke in Scotland after today, because somebody might get offended.
So the reason why we're talking about this is because in Scotland, from tomorrow, there is a new law where comedians and writers, anyone telling jokes, even members of the public, could be arrested for offending another person with what they say. Oh, by the way, a very interesting question from Real Heist. I'm here live on Wednesday and Sunday. Every Wednesday and Sunday from 2 p.m. UK time is when I'm here with you. Every Sunday and Wednesday, 2 p.m. UK time.
Although I'm not there on Wednesday, it's just Mr. Duncan.
It's just me. It's only me on Wednesdays. Although, Mr. Steve, you have the week off. Mr. Steve has a holiday next week.
I'm on holiday this week because, well, it's a good time to take holiday at Easter because there was a bank holiday on Friday and there's a bank holiday on Monday. So these are public holidays, obviously to celebrate the Easter period, and which means I only have to take 4 days actual holiday next week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
And then I get that whole week off because Monday is a public holiday and I've had Friday, which means I have sort of 9 days off and only have to take 4 as holiday.
In other words, Steve has a very long holiday.
In other words, I've got a nice... Although, yes... Thank you, Christina. Unfortunately, the weather forecast is not very good at all for the rest of this week. It's raining every day, so I'm going to be doing jobs inside.
Rain every day.
Rain every day.
So Mr. Steve has picked a week off from work when it is going to rain every day. Well, at least we can stay in the house and we can enjoy our Easter egg, maybe, Mr. Steve. Maybe we can enjoy that.
I think the Easter egg will be consumed tonight.
Another type of humour, by the way, is making fun of yourself. So I often do that. When I stand here, I will say, imagine looking like this. Imagine trying to be taken seriously in life if you look like this. And quite often this is, for me, a handicap. Because I'm held back. I don't look tough and manly. I look all immature and weak, and it can hold you back. So sometimes I do make fun of the way I look, the fact that I don't have much weight. I'm quite thin sometimes.
Rosa, I went back to... Where have you been, Rosa? I'm joking. I went back to work in June of last year. I've been working since then because this job came up and I decided to take it. So no, I went back to work because obviously I have to keep Mr. Duncan in the life that he's accustomed to, the life of luxury.
Yes,
that he's accustomed to.
Steve has to be able to afford these very expensive Easter eggs. So he has to go back to work. I think personally, he went back to work just to get away from me. I think so.
Oh, Mr. Duncan, why would you think that? But no, yes, I have to keep Mr. Duncan in the luxury that he's accustomed to.
So that's a good example of being able to laugh at yourself. So we make fun of ourselves. Self-deprecation is what we call it. It's a very technical word. Self-deprecation is when you make fun of yourself. You take a part of your own personality or appearance and you make fun of it. You use it quite often as a defense mechanism as well. So some people do it just to make themselves feel more relaxed, and it does work for some people, not everyone. Some people might not feel better by making fun of themselves, but yes, I think it does. I think it can help.
How's your back, Mr. Duncan, says Christina. Have you spoken about that already? I'm sure you have.
My back is not too bad. It's still painful. We went for a lovely walk yesterday and it did make it feel a little better. Although this morning I woke up and it was hurting quite a lot. But Mr. Steve has bought something for me, something that I can put on my back to cool it down.
A cold gel pack.
And hopefully...
A cold gel pack.
Hopefully it will make it better. But it is still hurting, yes. And I'm standing up. I must be crazy.
Lewis makes a good point about retirement. You do need to plan it, I think. I think when I lost my job through redundancy, about 18 months ago now, then, I wasn't prepared for that. And I wasn't prepared for not having that routine of work, which I did miss.
Yeah.
And I think this isn't on subject, I know, but yeah, you need to plan it. So next time I finish, I'm going to finish on my terms.
Yes.
And when I've got something planned out, because there's nothing worse than retiring and having nothing to do. You've got to have some plan in place, I don't think, because I've already found out what it's like to retire and not have a plan, and I don't want to do that next time.
This is something I said last Wednesday on the live stream on my own when I was by myself. I did talk about this very briefly, about retirement. And if you are planning to retire from your job, and this is something you found out, wasn't it, Steve? You have to have some sort of plan in place, or else you just drift and you have no aim.
Yeah,
so
you
you felt that it wasn't the right time to do it.
I did. Plus, the money's nice. It's nice to come back to work, and I missed having a regular wage coming in. I really missed that. And I was worried that we might run out of money.
Yes,
I don't think we would have done, but I was worried about it anyway.
We had to pay last year for that Paris trip, which by the way we might be doing again this year, not Paris, but somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
We are at the moment trying to work out where to go, when to go, and whether we can afford it. So all of those things are in.
Yes, Christina, I am planning probably to work until I'm 65, so that's probably just under 2 years. So that's probably, yes, whereas the retirement age for me is 67 now, because they've changed the retirement age in the UK now. What are you looking at, Mr. Duncan? You look a bit shocked.
I'm looking at, I just can't believe that you have to work until 67. I mean, really, how much of your life will be left after you retire at 67? How much life do you have left? I think that's unfair. I think 65 is quite nice, but 67, that's another 2 years.
Well, that of course is when you are entitled to the state pension.
Yes.
In the UK, it was 65. It's a lot earlier in France, as we know, having spoken to Lewis before about this and Patrick. But in the UK, you have to wait now. Well, dependent on when you were born.
Yes.
So I was born in 1961. I've just missed it, actually, by a year. If I'd been born in 1959 or 1960, I could have got my pension at 65, but because I was born in 61, they've changed the rules. I have to wait another 2 years, which I think is a bit unfair. But that's anyway. That's the way they've done it.
Yes, but the thing with me is if they can increase it to 67, then that means maybe in a couple of years they could increase it to 70.
Well, they almost certainly will increase it to 68. That's guaranteed.
Yeah.
That they will increase it to 68, and because we can't, there are so many people now, more and more high proportion of people over the age of 65 that are living longer and longer. So we can't afford, because people used to retire and then they would, men would be dead by the time they were 72. And women would probably live to 78, but you can add 10 years to that now. So people are having less babies. So the younger population are having to support the retired people, of which there are more and more. So they're having to extend the retirement age, and it will go up to. Well, it's certainly going to go up to 68. I'm sure that'll happen quite soon for people born before a certain date.
Yes. So at the moment,
after a certain date.
So back to the original point. It's 67 now.
It's 67 for me.
I will have to carry on working until I'm 67 before I can claim my very tiny, very small pension, because I won't get very much, I can tell you now. Not working on YouTube. I might be sleeping rough on a park bench when I'm 70. So
well,
if
you won't be if I'm still working, Mr. Duncan.
Okay, then that's good then. I won't have to worry in the future about having Easter eggs. Then that's good. I feel a bit better about that suddenly.
Well, I remember when we went to Malaysia years and years ago, 20 years ago now. I don't know if it's still the same now, but I remember talking to a teacher there. She was actually an English teacher. I met her on the plane and we got talking on the way back from Kuala Lumpur. And the retirement age then, this was back in the year 2001, was 55. I was absolutely gobsmacked, flabbergasted, surprised, because then the retirement age was 65 in the UK, but in Malaysia it was 55. I don't think it is now. I read something recently to say that it's bankrupting the country for people to retire at 55, so they're going to have to extend it. Of course, the other big controversy in the UK, Mr. Duncan, was that women used to be able to retire at 60.
Yes.
Men retired at 65, women retired at 60 to get the state pension. But now it's the same for men and women. So there are a group of women, and they've given them a name, the Waspies, isn't it?
Well, but isn't that equality?
But there are a group of women who are going to miss out because they were due to retire at 60, and then this new law came in that made it 65. So that there are a certain number of women of a certain age who thought they got 2 or 3 years to retire, and now they're going to have to wait another 5 years.
Yes.
And in fact, but
that's equality. There we go.
That's
Everything's
equality,
equal.
but they call them Waspies. You can read about it.
That's okay. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it stands for. I knew you were going to ask me that, but there you go.
No, I wasn't going to ask you. You
can I say hello to Mr. Lonely? Because Mr. Lonely is called Mr. Lonely, so I want to say hello to Mr. Lonely so that you don't feel so lonely.
Where?
It's on the. Well, I can't point out to you where it is.
No, I haven't seen it come up.
Yes, it's just.
No, don't. It's okay. You don't have to tell me where it is. I know it's on the live chat. I just can't see it.
It's just above one of. It's just above one of Lewis's posts.
Oh yes, that's okay, Steve. Yeah, let's have a look. Oh yes, there we go. Myanmar. Mr. Lonely in Myanmar. Hello, Mr. Lonely. That looks like
Mr. Lonely in Myanmar.
Mr. Lonely. Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes, I seem to know.
I've just seen that now. Yes. So. Hi, Mr. Lonely, and we hope you don't feel lonely on this live stream.
You are never lonely here.
You're never lonely here.
Never. Never.
And feel free to make comments in the live stream. The more things you say, the less lonely. You're probably not really lonely.
No.
Why do you call yourself Mr. Lonely? We'd like to know. Let's hope it's not because you are really lonely. We don't want that.
If you are really lonely, though, and your name is Mr. Lonely, that's... that's very unfortunate.
But we don't want to make jokes about loneliness.
No,
because that wouldn't be appropriate.
No. I might offend someone, and then I might go to Scotland and get arrested tomorrow. You see.
The other thing about the state pension is it's not really going to be enough to live on, and so you always have to have your own pension.
This is very depressing, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's no good. Working all your life and relying on the state pension, you will have a very, very meagre existence.
Okay.
Meagre, so you'll have a very basic existence.
Great.
If you were to live on the state pension. Well, it's worth about... We've got one of the lowest state pensions in Europe. So our state pension is, I think it's around £11,500 a year now. It's gone up a lot recently, but it's a lot lower than in other European countries. I think it's one of the lowest in Europe.
Steve, that's still more than YouTube money.
That is true. That is still more than YouTube money.
Anyway, we're going to finish on a happy note because we're going to look at some words and phrases connected to eggs. Would you like to do that, Mr. Steve?
I would indeed.
Shall we scramble through them?
Scramble? Oh, it's a joke.
Oh, dear.
Shall we scramble through them?
Yes.
Shall we explain the joke, or shall we leave it to our intelligent
I was only
viewers?
yoking.
We're only yoking.
Anyway, here we go. So here are some words and phrases connected to eggs. And look at that. I've gone to so much trouble there to design that wonderful lower third. Here we go then. Eggs, words and phrases. First of all, we have shell out for something. If you shell out, it is a phrase that means to buy something expensive. You have to suddenly buy something, you have to shell out for something. Maybe Mr. Steve has to buy some new tyres for his car. So it means Steve will have to shell out money for some new tyres.
Yes, it's referring to money you have to spend that you'd rather not. So you wouldn't sort of shell out for a new pair of shoes if you really wanted something. I think I'm right, aren't I, Mr. Duncan?
That's it, yes. You buy something expensive, but quite often something you would rather not have to buy.
Something that's worn out, like some tyres on a car or something like that. The way you say it, I've got to shell out on some new tyres. You're referring to the fact that you've got to spend that money, but you don't want to. You might not. It's something you don't want to spend.
That's it. Yes, that's it. Really. Here's another one: to come out of your shell. If you come out of your shell, so it's a little bit like maybe not like a chicken coming out or a chick coming out of a shell, but maybe a snail coming out of its shell. So imagine that. To come out of your shell is to become more confident. You become more confident. So maybe a person who is shy will slowly come out of their shell.
They gain confidence, and suddenly somebody might be at a party and they're talking a lot to everybody, and they might be singing or something, and somebody might say, "Oh, they've come out of their shell." It means that they've stopped being so shy and they've started being a bit more assertive.
Yes, to be more confident, you come out of your shell. To have egg on one's face. I've had many situations where I've been left with egg on my face to appear foolish or stupid in front of other people. Something you do which is embarrassing for yourself, and other people see that you've done it.
Yes.
You are left with egg on your face.
If we were to describe the meaning of a word incorrectly on this channel,
that happens a lot,
and we were to do something obviously wrong and somebody pointed it out and it was a silly mistake that we shouldn't have made, we would have egg on our face. Just as if you did have egg on your face, you would be embarrassed. If you literally had egg on your face, people would laugh and point at you and it would be embarrassing. So it's embarrassment. You're embarrassed about something that you've said or done that you shouldn't have done. It's a silly mistake, really.
Exactly. Here's another one. To walk on eggshells. If you walk on eggshells, it means to step or tread carefully. Also, figuratively, so not literally, but figuratively, maybe you are trying to talk about a subject without offending anyone. You will do it very carefully. You will walk on eggshells. It means you are doing something carefully. You are doing something very gently.
If you were talking about a certain subject, or if somebody was... We all know people at work or certain family members who seem to get upset very easily. Maybe they're not confident in themselves or something. Say somebody you saw at work was wearing some clothes and you thought they weren't suitable for them, but you wanted to point it out to them without offending them. You would walk on eggshells. Sometimes certain people, you will say, "Oh, you've got to walk on eggshells around them."
Yes,
because it means that you.
Well, I think in that situation you would avoid the subject altogether. So you wouldn't approach a subject that you know a person is definitely sensitive to.
Yes.
You would avoid it.
Careful what you say around John, because he's easily offended. You'll have to walk on eggshells.
That's it. That's
means you're just very lightly talking about certain subjects to see how they might react.
Anyway,
sensitive people. Yeah,
we're going to move on. Put all your eggs in one basket. To rely on one thing. So maybe you are hoping that if you put all of your eggs in one basket, if you put all of your resources or your money into one share of a company, then you are putting all of your eggs in one basket. So if that company goes wrong or goes out of business, you will lose all of your money. So with shares, I suppose, you would put money into different things, not just one thing.
That's it. That's a good analogy. If you had a certain amount of money you wanted to invest for your retirement, but you put it all on one company in the hope that that company, because you thought that company would do well, that would be a risk. Because if that company went bust, you would lose all your money. Whereas if you put all your money into lots of different companies or a fund, you would be protected more against any problems with. Not all those companies are going to go bust.
No,
but you could. Yes, you could. You might go for a job interview and decide that this is the job you want, and you only apply for this one job. You're really desperate for a job. And you think, well, I don't want to go for these other jobs. Somebody might say to you, yes, but don't put all your eggs in one basket.
That's it.
Apply for other jobs as well, because what happens if you don't get that job? Because the analogy is that if you had lots of eggs and you had them all in one, but if you drop that basket, you lose all your eggs.
Yes, I think we've explained it.
Whereas if you have lots of different baskets and drop one basket, you've still got some eggs.
Okay,
it's about spreading your risk.
Steve,
I'm just explaining it. It's about spreading the risk.
That's it. We're running out of time.
I know, but I like to explain things in great detail.
Yes, we've noticed sometimes too much detail. Put all your eggs in one basket. Don't rely on one thing.
Spread your risk.
Hedge your bets. A bad egg. We've all met someone who we can describe as a bad egg, a person of negative character, maybe a person who is a little suspicious, a person you wouldn't trust, or maybe you know that person is bad. We can describe them as a bad egg. Of course, we can have the opposite. A person can be a good egg.
Yes.
I think Mr. Steve, quite often people would say, Mr. Steve, he is a good egg.
Somebody who's got a good character, you can rely on them. But a bad egg is somebody that's their character's bad. You don't want to associate with them. They'll get you into bad habits or something like that.
To be an egghead, this is not referring to the appearance of someone from the shape of their head, but a person who is clever or studious, maybe a person who is very brainy and they know lots of things. You might say that person is an egghead. Maybe they have a job such as maybe in one of the sciences, and you might say that person is an egghead because they have lots of knowledge.
Professors in university, or somebody that's always talking intellectually. Oh, you're an egghead. It's just the impression is they've got a big brain in this head that's shaped like an, that's the impression you're trying to give. By the way, you've had a donation from Christina.
Oh, I didn't
Christina
see that.
Silver. Yes, you've had a £2 donation from Christina.
Thank you very much, Christina, for your donation on the live chat. Thank you very much.
Christina is living in England and she is starting a new job in nursing in September. To become a nurse, so congratulations.
Wow. Whereabouts in the UK?
Yes, whereabouts are you, Christina?
Yes. I think you mentioned something about London. So maybe it is in London. Well, very nice.
Inaki, bad egg isn't a synonym of grouchy. Grouchy means somebody who's moody.
Yes.
It just means somebody who has a bad character. They might be stealing or hurting people or something like that. They're a person of bad character, a bad egg.
A wicked person.
A wicked person, somebody of bad character. They might be grouchy, but that doesn't mean that's not the same thing.
Yes, but it's not the same meaning.
No.
Steve, to crack up, to lose control of one's emotions. So there are many ways of cracking up. Maybe mentally you might crack up. You can't take the pressure anymore. So you go a bit crazy because your job is so stressful. You crack up. Of course, it can also mean to not control your laughter. Maybe you crack up because you're trying not to laugh, but you do laugh. You can't hold in your emotions. You crack up.
if you're having, that's it. You're literally, you're laughing so much you can't. You're uncontrollable laughter. It cracks you up. A joke. Oh, that joke really cracked me up. That program cracked me up.
Yes.
It means you laugh so much you couldn't control it. But a person who cracks up, you can say, as you say, if you're at work, say you've got a lot of pressure from work, and you say, "Oh, I'm just so stressed. I think I'm going to crack up. I'm going to just crack up one of these days." Or you might be having arguments with your wife or your husband. You'll make me crack up one day.
Yes.
It means that you're so stressed and anxious that you literally are going to end up in a mental hospital or have to take pills.
Yeah, that's it. You lose control of your emotions.
Yes.
We can have egg as a verb. So egg can also be used as a verb. So maybe to encourage a person to do something, you will egg that person. You will encourage them. So in this particular sense, it is being used figuratively. You egg someone on. You encourage them to do something.
And that can be done negatively, because if somebody at work is maybe, I would say at work, don't I? But if you're in a group, a conversation.
Steve, do you have any examples that don't involve work?
I don't. Well, a group of people, and somebody is taking the mickey out of somebody.
Okay.
And then somebody else joins in. Somebody else might say, "Oh, don't egg them on." It means don't encourage them to do more of what they're doing.
Yes. Well, I think actually with kids, maybe a group of kids, and they try to get one child to do something wrong, maybe throw a stone at somebody's window.
Yes.
So all the other kids will encourage the one kid to throw a stone at the window, and they will egg him on. They are egging him on. They are encouraging that person to do something. So it can be used negatively and positively. So to egg someone into doing something good as well.
You could be trying to get somebody to do some physical feat of physicalness. Egg them on to they want to try and break a record at school, in the school run or something, and you or trying to encourage somebody to do something positive, like do the high jump or learn to swim.
Or maybe you could use it to mean cajole.
Yes.
You cajole someone, you encourage them, you give them encouragement.
Is asking about the word egg beater.
Okay.
That's just I don't think that's a word, is it? That just means something that beats up eggs.
That's a noun, yes, for a thing that you use for beating the egg. Or maybe you can beat the egg yourself with your hand and a spoon or a fork. You whisk or beat the egg. So that's a very different thing altogether.
It hasn't got any other meaning.
No, it doesn't. It's not used figuratively.
Unless there's something that we don't know about.
Which is unlikely. Hey, egg. Egg as a verb, to throw eggs at something. So you are egging something physically as a verb. You are throwing eggs. Maybe your neighbour has upset you, so you go around at night and you throw eggs at their house because they're just so annoying.
My car was egged once.
Really?
Yes, I was driving through part of Wolverhampton, and these youths who obviously were throwing eggs at cars going by.
How can they afford eggs in Wolverhampton?
I don't know. They must have stolen them, and they were throwing eggs at people's cars that were going by. But yeah, if you are egged, some like politicians often go, don't they, on walkabouts to meet their constituents,
Yeah.
and they will be egged by people who don't approve of their policies. They will throw eggs at them.
This is
so
true.
Yes, you've been egged.
Yes.
Egg beater, says Aziz, is used in a swimming technique.
Oh,
I didn't know that. I haven't heard of that expression. We'll look that up offline.
yeah.
And have a look. But thank you for that, Aziz.
Is that like? I suppose it's a bit like the breaststroke as well. So it's a type of movement, maybe. in the water.
Oh, well, thanks for that, Aziz. We'll look that up afterwards.
I'm not a swimmer, to be honest. And, there it is now on the screen, Steve. He egged my car.
Oh, right, yes.
So to egg something can be physical. You physically throw eggs.
Jimmy's...
Like Mr. Steve had his car egged.
Or a politician. You often see that, don't you? Politicians are going out, the press are there's lots of crowds around, and someone throws an egg at them.
We don't encourage that.
We don't, yes, but somebody could have egged them on. There's a double meaning there.
You might egg the person on to throw an egg.
Would you say being called an egghead is a compliment or a criticism?
I think it can be both.
It can be both. Usually I think it's a compliment.
Yes, an egghead. I think it can be. It can be both. It can be a compliment or maybe a criticism if someone is jealous of another person for being clever.
You might think, that makes an egghead is if you call someone an egghead, it's difficult to pronounce that, egghead. Then usually yes, they're a clever person, but they're also probably a bit boring. They're always the implication is that they're all they ever talk about is intellectual things, and they haven't got anything else of interest in their personality. Yes. So it can be seen as negative, but
it can be used. Yes, it can be used in both ways.
It could be used in both ways, but it's it's a neutral, really.
That's it. And egg as a verb. Finally, as you said, Steve, a protester egged the president. So there have been many famous people over time. I remember, who was it? Was it? No, I think Bill Gates had eggs thrown at him, or was it a pie? I'm sure it was a pie, a cream cake. What a waste of food. Why would you ever throw sweet things at someone? Eat them. They're really, really delicious. What a waste of food. I don't like seeing food go to waste. So the protester egged the president.
Prince Charles was egged, wasn't he?
Not long ago.
Not long ago.
King Charles, by the way.
King Charles. I think it missed him, but somebody did throw an egg at him.
Yes, it's great when they get you square on in the face. Where that's the problem with throwing things at someone. You've got to really aim very well to get the egg to fly in the right direction. You are aiming for the upper body, or if you can get the head, even better. It makes a very good photograph.
It's a very good way. Throwing eggs at someone is a very good protest because, one, you're not going to hurt them because eggs are quite delicate. Yeah. But when it hits, it's very obvious and very visible. Yes. And it's very hard to get egg off, isn't it? Particularly off clothes.
Well, I remember there was a trend where people would throw milkshakes at people because that really is messy.
Or paint.
That looks like you've been starring in a certain type of film.
Or tomatoes, as Beatrice and Inaki have said.
Yes. Guess what, Steve?
It's time to go.
It's time to go. We have been here for 2 hours. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do this today because I thought my back would be hurting. It is hurting, by the way, but I've managed to bear the pain.
What?
Thank you for your sympathy. Thank you, Mr. Steve. So I will be back on Wednesday if my back is feeling okay. Oh, would you like to see this before we go? This is something I was going to show, but I'm going to show it now.
Well,
I think, that's what I'm getting at the moment. I'm feeling as if my back is it's painful, but I would say also as
sorry about that.
Did you enjoy that, Steve?
I just had a sneeze.
Bless you. That was last week. Do you remember that? You sneezed.
I do remember that, Mr. Duncan.
That was the highlight of last week's live stream. I wonder what the highlight of this week's live stream will be. I don't know. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Good luck to everybody learning English out there in the world of English, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week, and thank you for all your contributions to the live chat.
Yes, it's been great. We've really enjoyed it, and of course we are back in April tomorrow, April the 1st.
Yes.
Don't get caught out. with those April Fool's
Oh,
jokes.
yes, April Fool's Day tomorrow. Don't get caught out.
Yes, be careful.
Yes.
If someone says something to you that seems untrue, or maybe you think maybe it is a joke, maybe they are trying to play an April Fool's joke on you.
Somebody mentioned earlier, I can't remember who now, that there was an April Fool's joke in 1950-something in the UK when they told everybody on the news that spaghetti grew on trees.
That was Panorama.
Ah,
Panorama
right.
did a special report on spaghetti farms where they would grow spaghetti on the trees. And that was on Panorama, a very serious TV show.
Political TV show.
But on that day, they decided to do something about a report about spaghetti farming. And there were all these trees with spaghetti hanging from them, which of course isn't true.
Of course,
spaghetti grows in the ground, as we all know.
Mr. Duncan. Yes, of course. In those days, people weren't eating. Spaghetti was like quite a rare food in the UK. People wouldn't eat spaghetti. So obviously, we all know it comes from Italy, but nobody would have known probably where it comes from. So it was easy to fool people with that joke back in 1957. Actually, you could probably do it now. Sorry, I can't remember who mentioned that comment earlier.
Anyway,
but thank you for it. Anyway, I'm off. Going to put the tea on, Mr. Duncan, and eat some freshly baked bread. And I'm going to put that cold pack on your back, and then you will be ready and willing to do another live stream on Wednesday.
That's it. I will. It will ease the pain and the stiffness in my back. Thank you, Mr. Steve.
Bye. Bye.
And there he is. And there he was. Mr. Steve has gone away on this Easter day. I hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. I hope it has been good fun. I am back with you, by the way, on Wednesday from 2 p.m. UK time. It has been a busy one. I will be honest with you. It has been very busy indeed. I hope you've enjoyed all of this. I hope it has been useful to you. And I will be back with you on Wednesday from 2 p.m. UK time is when I'm back with you. And I will see you then. It's been great. Thank you very much to the live chat. It's been very busy on the live chat as well. So many people were joining in today. So it is great to see so many people here. Thank you very much for your company. Thank you for joining me today. It's been very nice having you here. And I will see you on Wednesday, 2 p.m. UK time. Don't forget also, if you like this, give me a like. It will make my day. Thank you very much. See you later. This is Mr. Duncan in the birthplace of English saying thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Easter Sunday. Don't eat too much chocolate, because I know I will. And of course, until the next time we meet, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do. It's been good. I've really enjoyed today. I have to say, I've really enjoyed it, even though my back has been hurting for the past 2 hours. And of course, ta-ta for now. See you on Wednesday.